I know he's had his difficulties.
My son. This town turned against him after the accident with Jeremy Allen. They would have felt for him. They would have helped him heal. But because your boogeyman disappeared, they needed a new one.
I'm sorry.
So my name is James with Culture Slate, and I'm here with Joanne Barron, who plays Joan, correct?
Yes.
From Halloween Ends.
Yes.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about is I know that you and your husband run a production studio, Barron Brown Studios. Can you tell us about any upcoming projects or anything that you guys have in the works?
My husband has written a play called Little Charlie, which is an adaptation of a Ibsen play, Little Eyolf, and he is going to put that in production. And I wrote my life story, and he wrote part of it too, called Pawtucket, which is all about being raised in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and it has some terrific actors attached. And we are hoping to be shooting that this spring. And I'm excited because I've made a few movies from the school, a movie called Allie and Me, which was me playing a developmentally challenged beautician who goes on a crime spree. And Lainey Kazan and Diane Cannon are in it. And then I made a movie called Perfume with Jeff Goldblum, and Michelle Williams plays my daughter. And my husband directed a movie called On the Inside with Olivia Wilde and Nick Stahl. So we've made movies. We made a series called Joanne Brown is Here, which anybody can see on Facebook, which is a really funny series about a middle-aged woman who goes kapunk. And we continue to do episodes of that. It's very funny. Her husband cheated on her. She left with no money. Jeff Goldblum's in it. Tariq Trotter, the marvelous rapper, actor, writer, producer of The Roots. His name is, as a rapper, is Black Thought. He's on Jimmy Fallon. So he's in it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of projects. Some are ongoing. The new ones are the play and my movie Pawtucket.
So you've mentioned in previous interviews that your husband and you also do acting classes on the Meisner method.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about what that's like for you?
I have a training that I did. Oh, here's a nice little pamphlet that's sitting on his desk. The Barron Brown.
Oh.
I have trained with a man named William Esper, and I studied privately in auditing Sandy Meisner's final classes in New York at the Neighborhood Playhouse. And as an actress, I came out to LA from New York and did Lovers and Other Strangers, the series, and I did Joy of Sex, where I met my husband. Not a very sexy movie, but a silly movie by the great director Martha Coolidge, who I've done about 15 projects with. And I became an acolyte and a training teacher of Bill Esper. In fact, I was the very first person that Bill Esper trained to be a teacher, with the exception of one fellow who did tarot cards, but Bill didn't like to count him. And I then came out here as an actress, met my husband, opened up a private class. After a while, he was like, Meg Lieberman, the president of CBS Casting, is in your class, and Martha Coolidge, you know, the iconic director. So I want to be in your class. And so, much to my bad judgment, I put my husband in my acting class, and he eventually said, I'd like to teach. So he trained to be a teacher. So ultimately, I had a private class in New York with Bill Esper. I came out here as an actor. I opened up a school in California, and my husband then trained as an actor and then later as a teacher. And so he and I run this school, the Barron Brown Studio. I am not really as actively involved in teaching as I am in being the artistic director overseeing the teachers. And we're blessed to have teachers who've been there for like 35 years. What's cool about the school is it produces TV and film. So when you see projects with students, and students can be Justin Chon, the great filmmaker who's doing Pachinko now, who writes and directs and produces and stars, or it can be Hannah Mae Lee from Pitch Perfect. It's all of the collaborations we have with artists, producers, writers, directors, and casting. So it's really a little bit like a little production company, but it's also an acting training program.
That is super interesting. And especially, I imagine that it gives you a lot of interesting and unique connections in the industry, just with people I wouldn't even think of that you know, because they've come to you for that teaching.
It's a community, and so there's something really great. And there's also a bunch of students that'll get in a class and put on a movie or put on a play or write a piece. And you see that happening all the time with their classmates. And sometimes somebody's classmate ends up being Tom Shadyac, an iconic director. What better way to learn acting than on camera?
That's very true. And before I started working for Culture Slate, I was a stand-up comedian right at the start of the pandemic. So we too transitioned to Zoom just to kind of keep us up. We'll go ahead and get to the really interesting stuff for the people that are going to want to watch this interview. So Halloween ends. First of all, I'm a huge fan of your character in the movie. She is, in my opinion, the scariest person in that film. And you're acting against, not an actor, but, the Shatner mask, the knife, the coveralls, what is considered one of the most iconic horror villains. What really did you bring from your own experience, maybe, or other roles that you've had, to Joan for the movie?
Well, when you are an artist and you're a comic, stand-up comic, so you understand this, you absolutely draw everything from your life, some from your imagination or expanded life, exaggerated life. So when you have a part, no matter what that part is, you are continually drawing from the garden of your pain, history, joys and sadnesses. But the truth is, you couldn't play any part without really drawing from yourself in some way. Although, yes, it's true, imagination can transport you to things you've never known, but you'd still have to have a basis in orientation and understanding for empathy, connection, identification. So Joan is a broken woman representing the town of Haddonfield, who has not only experienced her son's victimization through a tragedy that occurs that he's blamed for, but she also is in the town of Haddonfield, which has been shadowed and darkened and made tragically paranoid and fearful in the reaction to the Michael Myers legacy.
Yes, and I think it's very interesting that you bring all that up, because that really shows, like, Joan is almost, in a way, an embodiment of just how broken Haddonfield is and how paranoid they are because of Michael. You're 100% right, and it really shows in your interactions with Laurie in the film.
Jamie is a very interesting counterpoint. Sometimes an actor doesn't know what they've done and the impact. And when I read reviews that said toxic motherhood, and they used both of us as bookends, the grandmother who is overly controlling, paranoid, and fearful, and the mother who is the same, that these women are shaping both their granddaughter and their son with their embodiment of an internalization, really, of Michael Myers.
You steal every scene you're in. You're outstanding in the movie.
Well, go on. Oh, shucks. The thing about you steal every scene, this is really wild to me. When you're an actor, you get something called a breakdown. You as a comic may be familiar with this, and it gives a description. So it said the woman should be from the East. Right off the bat, I was like, what's the East? And then I had the agent call casting, and they said, well, New Hampshire, Vermont, Boston. I chose Boston, Massachusetts. And then it said, actor should be scene stealing. So when I got the part, I thought, oh my gosh, scene stealing. Sometimes that would be considered like de rigueur. You don't want to go on set and say, I'm here to steal the scene, so move over. And you also don't want to pop out in a distracting way. But secretly, you're excited that you might do something that would be really memorable and vivid. Scene stealing didn't resonate until it was played back to me in reviews as she's just so memorable and vivid and loud and weird.
Yeah. And, I kind of wonder if the wig didn't have something to do with the weird description myself, but...
oh, that wig. That wig.
And
when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. I think, she's not supposed to be attractive. You're making me too attractive. And then I saw the movie. No, you didn't make me too attractive. I look absolutely bizarre.
It's great. It really adds to the whole characterization that you brought to life in her just because of how different she looks than everybody else in the film. And speaking of different, I know that this must have been very intimidating for you, but I hear that the first scene that you shot was Jamie Lee Curtis's last scene as Laurie Strode. If that's true, would you mind to kind of tell us what that was like?
The backstory to that is equally big. I came the first day of the set, and every actor the first day on a movie is hoping they won't get fired, hoping the director will like them. And when I first got the script, it was called Another Name, Cave Dweller. And I don't even know if I knew Jamie Lee was in the scene with me till like a week before. I know now, tomorrow's my first day, better get some sleep. Some actors can't sleep before they work. Luckily, I was able to. And I get it to the set, and I am playing in the scene in my house. The first day I see my house, where Laurie Strode's character visits the mother to tell her, have your son get mental help and stay away from my daughter, my granddaughter. And we do the whole scene. We do it quiet, we do it sad, we do it loud, we do it funny, we do it, and it's a long scene. It's not all in the movie, and it's very varied. And some of what he took was very specific for his vision of what he wanted this character to be and the impression. And we come out on the porch of my house, and the door opens, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people screaming, and they have cameras and they have microphones. And I turned to David Gordon Green, who's a real prankster and a real tease, and I said, oh my gosh, is it Jamie Lee Curtis's birthday? Goes, yes, Joanne, it's Jamie Lee Curtis's birthday. And I go, Jamie, happy birthday. And then Andy Mechiak, who's the star, the lead gal in my romance story with my son, pulls me aside, is holding my hand, and suddenly Jamie Lee Curtis is crying. This is the end of a franchise for me of decades. Only then did I know. Only then did I know. That was my first scene to shoot and her last scene. That she'd never do anything in Halloween's End or any Halloween franchise. And at that moment, I just said to myself, and I was crying on the porch, and I sent you a picture of myself crying on the porch with somebody listening to her. Then I thought, aren't I lucky that David Gordon Green, the brilliant auteur, the irreverent, iconoclastic, visionary, aren't I lucky that the same guy who chose to do a completely different story than anyone would expect,
yes,
with Danny McBride, and Jason Blum, aren't I lucky that he didn't tell me that? Because if he had said to me, this is her last scene, I think it would have really freaked me out.
Yeah, and I think that might have been his intent there, is that you don't tell somebody that so you get the best out of them, and then you find out after. And I'm sure that, like, if they got any set photos of you on that porch after you had figured out what was happening, that they had to be used somewhere. Now, I also know that you were at the LA premiere with Jamie Lee Curtis, and they showed a tribute to her as Laurie over her career. What was it like seeing her reaction to that?
You know, Jamie Lee has something that I hope I have, which is gratitude. You know, every actor, no matter who they are, and I have worked with Halle Berry and I've worked with Robin Wright, I've worked with people of great stature. I think every actor, no matter how big, maybe Tom Cruise doesn't have this, I don't know, but I think most actors feel like they go job to job, opportunity to opportunity. And even if they're a star, they don't necessarily think they get the opportunities that they'd like to get. So in a way, even if they're not out in the trenches auditioning, they might be receiving scripts and they might say, well, these are all the same kind of script. And, you know, I want to try something different and I don't want to do the exact same character.
Right.
That gratitude, that humility, that profound recognition she has of what this franchise has done and given her, the range from her youth to her age now, transporting her through a career, an iconic career. Her emotional response, tearful, grateful, humble, is an inspiration that all actors should model on and not become grumpy or resentful or unappreciative of what they've been given and the opportunities they've had.
One of the things that I've been wondering myself, so the relationship between Corey and his mother share quite a few similarities with the relationship between Carrie and her mother in the Stephen King film.
Yeah.
Is this on purpose? Did you guys pull inspiration from this, or was this something that the director gave you guys to work with?
The director had me watch 2 or 3 movies, and they were wild movies. They were old classics, not Carrie, but there was a movie about Christmas that was just a wild horror movie. There were several movies he had me watch, and these characters, Susan Terrell was in one of them. Susan Terrell is sort of an odd, obsessed, talk about vivid, wild actress in certain roles that she played. And he sent me these movies, and I looked at them, and he said, I want you to think like this. Now, ironically, Carrie and the woman who played her mother, that woman, Piper Laurie, Academy Award-winning actress, she played my mother in a movie called St. Patrick's Day.
Huh.
And so the same director who directed that is actually wrote and is directing my movie, Pawtucket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Small world. You see, this
Small
is what
world.
I was talking about with these connections that I didn't think you'd have.
And John Carpenter, I didn't know till I read a review that I have been in 2 John Carpenter movies, The Eyes of Lord Mars with Faye Dunaway, and this Halloween Ends.
That is nuts. I have a couple more questions for you right quick, and then we can let you go because I know you're very busy today. So there are quite a few scenes between you and Rowan that a lot of people describe as uncomfortable. What was that like for you, and what was like the most difficult one to film?
You know, one of the things about Rowan is he goes there with you. So when I slap him and then I kiss him on the lips after, he made it very comfortable for me to kiss my son. He was always so believable and authentic that when I was tender with him, and not all these things are in the movie, I have a very funny, sexy little silly scene with my husband. I have a very tender scene with my son where after I tell him I'm not going to give him something, I tiptoe in his room. Even backstory, I touch the picture of my first dead husband who had a motorcycle accident, which plays into the motorcycle given to him by his stepdad in the movie.
Oh, that is interesting.
There's many scenes, even my fight scene, which is the wildest scene where I am punching, screaming, kicking, violent. David Gordon Green's on set with the AD throwing blood at me and, with a paintbrush. And then he says, sing. And I start singing as I'm killing or trying to kill the guy who's trying to kill me.
So actually, that was going to be one of the final questions. Is that Michael or is it Corey?
I'm going to say that the last line of my death, which is not in the movie, but David mentioned at the after party that he was going to include some things he hadn't before in what they call, I guess, the bonus cut or the director's cut, or
Ooh, so there's going to be a director's cut of the movie that includes some of these scenes that we've talked about throughout this interview.
my husband, Moose, that's his name in life, texted me that there's going to be something called Corey Cunningham's cut.
Ooh.
But I don't really know what's going on because I've been on the dark and been kept in the dark for even since I got the part, because they changed their mind so much. And also they want things to be surprise. But my last line of my death is so wildly poignant, touching, moving, and really shows Joan in such a different light, so powerfully. And I think it connects to the possibility that it might be my son who's killing me.
Ooh, that is very interesting. Hopefully we do get this Corey Cunningham cut, as Moose called it. The other thing that I'm really curious in, there are a lot of stunts in this movie. And from what you've described, there are even more than we got to see if the director himself is out there with the AD splattering blood off a paintbrush at you. So what I would like to ask is, what was your favorite stunt to do, and did you do all of them?
I love doing physical things. The one stunt I didn't do, if they do show the fight scene leading to my death, because it's very long, and as David said, it's very vivid. He said that in an interview, but he was working with the pacing of the movie, so he didn't use it. But the one thing in that violent, wildly physical interchange is that the entire glass curio falls.
Ooh.
And it fell on a stunt woman, not me. But they had a stunt woman there, and I think David just said, go in. And when the stunt guy with the Michael Myers mask started working with me, I don't know if they ever intended to bring the girl in, thinking, oh, this woman, she's over, a certain age. She's going to have a bad back. She's going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to punch anyone. I don't want anybody to punch or kick me. But I just jumped right in and started going, at it like for days. And it was actually so incredibly fun. The whole scene was like thrilling.
The more I hear about it, the more I wish it had been in the film. But, hopefully we do get it somewhere, be it a deleted scene or maybe it gets leaked, however we end up seeing it. But that is so interesting. So the last thing I wanted to ask, what's your favorite memory from Halloween Ends?
Getting a note from David Gordon Green saying, for my mind, it was the perfect tango. It was
Aww.
Everything that it could have ever been collaboratively, and I will be working with you again soon on a set. I guess these are the bookends, getting the role and the thrill of that, and the process, which took a period of time, and the note from David that said it was the perfect tango, the perfect vision. You gave me everything I could have ever wanted. And I guess the last thing might be actually seeing the movie in the theater with everybody on that premiere night was thrilling. Being on the red carpet, saying hello to Jamie, and I don't think she recognized me because I looked more like this.
Because you didn't have the wig. If
And
you'd
I
worn
think
the wig, she would have known.
Yeah, I should have gone on the red carpet with the wig. Oh yeah, I would have been fun. And then at the end of the party, her walking over to me where she was taking pictures and rushing right to me and saying, did you like it? Did you like how it was? Are you happy? I thought, like, these are the peripheral touches before and after that move you. On set, I'd have to say the fight scene before my death was one of the greatest fun things I've ever done. I literally sing during it.
Ah. See, you every time you bring it up, I just want to see it more.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, right? Because the way you've described it, it's long, there's everything in it.
It's so cool.
The last line you give,
the
it
last
changes
line.
the context of the film. It's apparently one of the favorite kills of the film. That is amazing, and I cannot wait for it. And I cannot
Let's get
wait.
a petition out and send it to Blumhouse and say, we want this on the extras.
Hey, I'll sign it if you sign it.
Oh, I won't be signing anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm an actor.
That's fair. You have to be above all of that.
I don't want above. I'm below. I don't want to alienate anybody.
That's fair.
The powers that be, but strangers can talk on my behalf.
Well, Joanne, I wanted to thank you so much for spending this time with us today and for letting me get to know not only you, but your body of work and all of the incredible things you have going on. I cannot wait to see you again when we get closer to the release of Pawtucket so we can talk about that. And if we do get this alternate cut, the Corey Cunningham cut, be expecting for us to do another one of these just about that scene.
I would love it.
Me too. You've been great.
It has wonderful people in it, by the way. Sherry Shepard, Lainey Kazan, Jackie Weaver may be in it, hoping Mariska Hargitay, Ed Begley Jr. from Better Call Saul, Stephen Bauer from Better Call Saul. It has wonderful actors, by the way.
And do we know about when we could expect it to release? I've heard next year, but if you begin filming, it's a very tight schedule. Well,
beginning filming in spring usually means that somewhat under a year, it'll be released. So if I film it spring of 2023, the following year, maybe a little before spring.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Joan. I sincerely appreciate or Joanne. Jeez.
Call me
I
my
s-
character's name. I'm a method actor. Call me my character's name, Joan.
I appreciate your time and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.